In just 43 seconds, a fake friendship claim would destroy a political career. Jasmine Crockett didn't laugh when Lance Gooden desperately called her his friend in front of the cameras. She didn't need to. Her response was surgical, devastating, and absolutely perfect. The look on Gooden's face when she finished speaking said everything America needed to know about fake Washington friendships. What did Crockett say that made Gooden look like he wanted to disappear into the floor? At exactly 11:17 a.m. on December 3, 2024, the House Oversight Committee chamber buzzed with the usual partisan tension, mahogany panels gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights, 28 cameras positioned to capture every uncomfortable moment, as representatives grilled witnesses about the latest Epstein document, revelations. The air crackled with barely contained hostility disguised as professional courtesy. Jasmine Crockett walked into the hearing room like a prosecutor who'd spent the weekend perfecting her case. Navy blazer sharp as a blade, legal folders arranged by devastating importance, microphone positioned with mathematical precision. Her expression was calm, controlled, dangerous. She carried herself like someone who knew exactly which buttons to push and when to push them. Lance Gooden sat 3 seats down from her like a congressman carved from pure Texas ego. Republican from the 5th District, Trump loyalist, Fox News regular. His flag pin caught the lights as he shuffled through prepared talking points. That practiced political smile, suggesting he was ready for another day of partisan performance art. His staff had briefed him well. Stay on message, deflect with humor, remember the cameras are always rolling. But today would be different. Very different. 3 elements hung in the committee room. Air like gathering storm clouds, sealed documents about Epstein financial networks, Lance Gooden's suspicious silence during previous hearings, and Jasmine Crockett's reputation for surgical precision when she smelled political hypocrisy. The hearing began with Chairman James Comer discussing new revelations about Jeffrey Epstein's political donations and influence operations, routine oversight stuff, banking records, wire transfers, political action committees, the kind of dry financial testimony that usually puts C-SPAN viewers to sleep, until Crockett got her 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address some concerning patterns we've discovered in these Epstein financial documents, she began, her voice steady as a heartbeat. Specifically, payments to political figures who've remained conspicuously quiet about this investigation. Republican committee members shifted uncomfortably. Democratic members leaned forward slightly. The cameras captured every micro-expression of growing tension. Congresswoman, could you be more specific? Chairman Comer asked, though his tone suggested he already knew where this was heading. Crockett opened her folder. Not the color-coded stack, but a single document bearing multiple federal authentication seals. Federal Election Commission Report FEC 2024-3847. Details wire transfers totaling $340,000 from Epstein-linked PACs to various congressional campaigns between 2019 and 2020. The room temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees. One recipient received $127,000 across 4 separate transfers, all payments made through intermediary organizations designed to obscure the original source. She paused, letting the implications settle like radioactive dust. Congressman Gooden, you've been remarkably silent during our Epstein hearings. Any particular reason why? Lance Gooden's practiced smile flickered like a dying light bulb. Congresswoman, I resent the implication. I haven't made any implications yet. I've simply asked why you've been quiet. Well, Gooden glanced around the room, suddenly aware that every camera was focused on him. I think we need to be careful about witch hunts. Is $127,000 the reason for your caution? The words landed like a physical blow. Gooden's face went through a fascinating color change, from confident tan to pale white to flushed red, in the span of 3 seconds. I have no idea what you're talking about. Crockett held up the document. FES report shows payments to Texas Liberty Fund, a PAC that contributed exclusively to your 2020 and 2022 campaigns. Should I read the wire transfer details? Congresswoman, Gooden said, his voice cracking slightly. I think we're friends here. We've worked together on several. That's when Jasmine Crockett delivered the kill shot. She turned to face him directly, her expression shifting from professional to personally offended. The cameras caught every nuance of her response. Friends? The single word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Mr. Gooden? Friends don't take Jeffrey Epstein's money and then stay silent when Congress investigates child trafficking. Friends don't hide behind fake PACs when their corruption gets exposed, and friends certainly don't insult my intelligence by pretending we have a relationship. When you've spent 2 years voting against every bill I've supported. Her voice remained perfectly controlled, but the contempt was unmistakable. So no, we are not friends. What we are is a congresswoman asking questions and a congressman who apparently can't answer them without lying. The hearing room fell into absolute silence. Even the stenographer stopped typing. Gooden's face cycled through every emotion known to political science. Shock, embarrassment, anger, desperation, and finally, defeat. His mouth opened and closed like a fish on dry land. His eyes darted around the room as if looking for an escape route that didn't exist. The payments were, my staff handles all campaign finance, he stammered, his Texas drawl becoming more pronounced under stress. Your staff handles taking money from child traffickers? That's not what I said. Then what are you saying? 43 seconds. That's how long it took from Gooden's pathetic friends, claimed to his complete destruction. The committee room erupted in controlled chaos. Republican members called for points of order. Democratic members tried to hide their smiles. Reporters frantically typed breaking news alerts. Chairman Comer gave uld for order, but the damage was absolute and irreversible. Within minutes, "Not your friend" was trending on Twitter. The video clip of Crockett's response went viral across all platforms. TikTok users turned her friends into a meme. Instagram accounts posted slow-motion videos of Gooden's facial expressions with dramatic music. CNN's Jake Tapper broke into regular programming. Explosive confrontation in House oversight. As Congresswoman Crockett exposes alleged Epstein payments to Republican colleague, MSNBC's Joy Reid tweeted, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When Jasmine Crockett shows you who Lance Gooden is, the receipts don't lie." Even Fox News struggled to defend Gooden. Tucker Carlson's team went conspicuously silent on social media. Sean Hannity's show dropped Gooden from their regular rotation without explanation. Laura Ingraham, who had featured Gooden dozens of times, suddenly couldn't book him for interviews. The network's internal memos, later leaked to Media Matters, revealed producers were instructed to avoid the Gooden situation until further notice. Late-night comedy shows had a field day with the Friends moment. Stephen Colbert's monologue featured a 10-minute segment titled "When Politicians Think They Have Friends." Jimmy Kimmel created a fake dating app called Congress Match, where politicians could find real friends instead of pretending they have them. The Daily Show with Trevor Noah ran a segment called Friendship Goals, Jeffrey Epstein edition, that went viral on TikTok. The social media mockery was particularly brutal. Twitter users created thousands of memes using Crockett's incredulous friends. The audio clip became a TikTok sound effect used to call out fake friendships across all contexts. Instagram accounts posted side-by-side comparisons of Gooden's confident "we're friends" claim versus his devastated expression 43 seconds later. The afternoon brought a cascade of revelations that buried Gooden completely. The Dallas Morning News published a deep dive into Texas Liberty Fund, revealing it was incorporated just 6 weeks before receiving the mysterious Epstein money. The fund had no employees, no office, and no clear purpose beyond funneling questionable donations to Gooden's campaigns. The Houston Chronicle obtained internal emails showing Gooden's staff knew about the Epstein connections and decided to keep the money anyway. One email from his campaign manager read, "The guy's dead. The money's clean. Nobody will trace it back." But perhaps most damaging was the leaked audio of Gooden discussing the payments with an unknown individual, recordings that directly contradicted his public denials. Gooden, "The Epstein money came through clean. No direct connections anyone can prove." a neon voice, and if someone asks, Gooden, play dumb, act confused. These oversight hearings are just political theater anyway. The audio was obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request and verified by multiple news organizations. By evening, Lance Gooden's political career was effectively over. 3 Republican colleagues called for his resignation. The House Ethics Committee announced an immediate investigation. The FBI confirmed they were reviewing all available evidence regarding potential campaign finance violations. Most tellingly, his own district party began distancing themselves. The Collin County Republican Party issued a statement expressing deep concern about the allegations. Local conservative groups that had endorsed him for years suddenly went silent. Gooden's response came at 9 p.m. through a hastily arranged press conference outside his district office. Under harsh lights, sweating despite the December chill, he looked like a man who'd aged 10 years in 10 hours. "I want to be clear," he said, his voice shaking. "I had no knowledge of the source of these donations. My campaign followed all legal requirements for reporting contributions." But his usual confidence was gone. His talking points felt rehearsed and desperate. The man who'd called Jasmine Crockett his friend just hours earlier now looked like someone who'd never had a real friend in his life. Meanwhile, Crockett appeared on Anderson Cooper 360, looking exactly as composed as she had during the hearing. "Anderson, this isn't personal," she said, her voice steady and measured. "It's about accountability. When a member of Congress takes money from Jeffrey Epstein's network and then stays silent during investigations into child trafficking, that's not friendship. That's complicity. Congressman, Gooden claimed you two were friends. Was that news to you?" Crockett's slight smile could have cut glass. "Lance Gooden and I have never been friends. We've barely spoken outside of committee hearings. The fact that he would claim friendship while taking money from child traffickers tells you everything you need to know about his character." The interview clip garnered 12 million views within 6 hours. 2 weeks later, the final blow came from an unexpected source: Gooden's own former staff. 3 former campaign workers came forward with detailed accounts of how the congressman had specifically sought out donors with questionable backgrounds, believing their desperation to buy political influence made them easy targets for fundraising. One former staffer, speaking anonymously to Politico, described a culture where the shadier the donor, the more excited Lance got about the money. Lance Gooden announced his resignation from Congress on December 20th, 2024, citing family considerations and new opportunities in the private sector. His resignation letter was 2 paragraphs long and mentioned nothing about Epstein money, fake friendships, or the devastating hearing that ended his career. Jasmine Crockett, meanwhile, became a Democratic superstar overnight. Her friends moment was studied in political communication classes. Progressive organizations hailed her as the future of congressional oversight. But perhaps the most telling response came from her own words during a quiet interview with The Atlantic a month later. "People ask me if I plan to humiliate Lance Gooden that day," she said, sitting in her Capitol Hill office. "The truth is, he humiliated himself the moment he took Jeffrey Epstein's money and then lied about it." She paused, looking out at the Washington skyline. "And then he made it worse by pretending we were friends while defending child traffickers. Some people apparently don't understand what friendship actually means." 6 months later, federal prosecutors in Texas announced charges against Gooden related to campaign finance violations and money laundering. The case was built largely on the financial documents Crockett had presented during that December hearing. During his sentencing hearing, the judge made a point that resonated far beyond the Dallas courtroom. "Mr. Gooden, your downfall began not when you took this money, but when you tried to hide behind fake friendship while defending the indefensible." The ripple effects of that 43-second exchange continued to reshape Washington's political landscape. Democratic fundraising groups began using the Friends clip in campaign advertisements, contrasting authentic leadership with performative politics. Republican strategists privately admitted the moment had become a cautionary tale about the dangers of taking dirty money and lying about relationships. political science professors at Georgetown, Harvard, and Yale added the Crockett-Gooden confrontation to their curricula. As a masterclass in effective congressional oversight, students analyzed the psychological dynamics of power, the weaponization of false intimacy, and the devastating effectiveness of single-word responses when delivered with perfect timing and moral authority. The moment also inspired a new generation of young politicians who saw in Crockett's response a blueprint for authentic public service. Campaign managers across the country began coaching candidates to pull a Crockett when confronted with obvious lies or manipulation attempts. Most remarkably, the exchange led to concrete policy changes. The House Ethics Committee, embarrassed by how easily Epstein money had flowed to members, implemented new disclosure requirements for PAC contributions. The Crockett Amendment required real-time reporting of any donations exceeding $50,000, making it nearly impossible for future politicians to claim ignorance about their funding sources. Justice doesn't always wear a robe or carry a gavel. Sometimes, it walks into a committee hearing with receipts and asks simple questions. Who paid you, and why are you lying about it? What happens when fake friendship meets real accountability? What happens when someone claims to know you while defending child traffickers? What happens when "we're friends" becomes the most insulting thing someone can say? The answer was written in 43 seconds that changed everything. If this story inspired you, don't just scroll, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Here, truth doesn't knock. It enters with evidence and leaves with receipts. What's the fakest friendship claim you've ever heard in politics? Drop it below.